Well, hello again. Welcome back. Today we're going to get started on this late 70s Stratocaster that a customer brought in. It's in for a refret. The frets have been cut down very low. They were not very big to start with. So between play wear over the years and somebody filing them down flat, there's not much fret left. I think I measured these at something like 25 thousandths high in various places. They're supposed to be 46. We talked about using a different size fret wire on it, but we've decided to go with the original size wire because this guitar, like many of the other guitars up until very early 80s, were fretted from the side. The frets are actually shot in from the bass side toward the treble side, so they have to be taken out the same way. And the fingerboard is so thin that any larger fret wire, the tang would have to be cut down to fit without going through the fingerboard, which is something I used to do. But there again, we're going to be using the C.P.R. vintage wire as an exact replacement for this. Got to thank them for actually making a wire that is the same as the originals. We couldn't get that for years. So we're going to get this torn down, get the neck off, and get it onto another piece of apparatus to work on it, and we'll start taking the frets out. Now here we have the neck off the body, all unstrung, the nuts off. We've got it mounted on a little block here and fastened in the vise, something very simple. We're just holding it up sideways this way. It's resting on my neck support. And what I'm going to do is start pulling the frets. And what I'm going to show you is how we usually start this process. Over here is I take a center punch and punch a very small dimple in the very end of the fret so it doesn't mushroom out anywhere and you get a nice little fit on it. Then I take an awl and start tapping the fret through until I drive it out the other side. If all goes well, it should come out smooth and clean. It should slide right out. It'll be a little tight, but if you pull it from the top, you'll do damage. We'll discuss that in a few. Now it's been about a half hour here. So we've got a little pile of frets laying here. They all come out pretty well. There were some that had a little bit of resistance to them, but we've gone apt for that. Actually, what we do is the punch slips out of one because of the ends being so tapered or worn badly or filed off badly, we just actually use a little cheap Japanese chisel that I've actually kind of ground the ends of it down so it fits against the end here of the fret very well, and you can just ride the fingerboard up. And just to show you how these slide out, you know, if you get the right pressure on it, you can just slide them right out. So there we go. Like I said, come out very clean. You can see how the slots were not damaged here. Like I say, if you try to pull frets installed this way from the top in a traditional way, you'll really tear up the fingerboard because the tang for the fret, these little barbs, are on a little track underneath the fingerboard surface. So they'll just, you know, rip big hunks of board up. So they gotta come out from the side. When I refret, I actually put them back in from the top, but I have a different way of doing that. Years ago, when I was doing vintage refrets, I actually used to do them from the side as Fender did, but I've since stopped doing that unless the customer kind of wants me to. We can actually do a better fret job using more modern methods. However, you know, since we're talking about this sideways fretting thing, I've mentioned before at other times, you know, Leo had a really good idea there that's if these were put in properly, there was no way the fret ends where the frets could pop loose. So, yeah, he was onto it there. So, okay, we're going to get on with this. Be back later. Well, we're on the neck jig. We're all jigged up. Everything's been taken care of here. We're ready to go. All I have to do now is remove the strings, zero the neck back down, and we'll be ready for the fun to really start. And for you that wonder why there's a set of bass strings hanging back here, I'm actually tag teaming a bass neck from the same time period here. It just come off the neck jig and has been replaced with a Strat neck. So I will have the bass neck back on here again shortly. So I just didn't bother taking the strings off. So here we go. Well, seems that we've made a little bit of a mess here. The plus side is the fingerboard is level. We managed to pull it off. I barely got the fingerboard level, then finished up leveling and cleaning up with a little bit of 220 grit, and it fell right into place. So at this point, what we have to do is clean up all this sanding dust, clean out the fret slots, resaw them to make sure they're the proper depth and clearance, chamfer the tops of them, then clean up the top of the fingerboard again with a little bit of 400 grit, and then we're going to be ready to start fitting frets. New frets are in. They've been cleaned up, trimmed, rough leveled. So it's back to the neck jig. Back on the neck jig. We'll jig this back up, level the frets, do the fret dress, make a nut for it, get this well on its way. We've got 3.5 hours in at this point. Actually, considering taking the frets out, probably about 4. All in all, for a vintage style refret, this is moving along pretty quickly. We have finished our fret work and remounted the neck on the body. We have to make a nut yet. But what we're going to do next is clean over electronics. The jack's a little nasty. It's actually cutting in and out. We're going to take the entire bridge apart and clean it up, loosen up some screws, maybe replace a few screws. We'll see. Some of this looks pretty bad. Clean the whole body and everything up, get that ready. Then we'll move on to making our nut and getting this guitar set up and finished. Well, the bridge is all freed up. Everything's been cleaned up. A couple replacement screws, a lot of wire brushing, a little bit of liquid wrench, and we've got all that working. Move up here. The nut's been roughed in, so we're ready to finish it up. So let's get a set of strings on this and finish the nut. Well, guess what? You get a little bonus here. When I was setting this guitar up, I was running into a couple things, and I thought, why not? This is something that I did back in the 70s when these pickups first come out, and it's going to help with our intonation issues on this guitar. If you notice, you'll see the little square molded holes here in the bobbin. Okay? These are not the vulcanized fiber bobbins like used in the older pickups. These started back there at a certain point, and you've got a plastic bobbin with a winding on it, and you've got magnets slid into it. So the neat thing here is you can actually slide these magnets out, flip them over, reverse your leads on the pickup, and it will actually be hum canceling between the positions like the later Fenders are. This is before Fender thought of how to do this, or considered it. Like I say, as soon as these pickups come out on the market back there in the late 70s, I jumped on this. So I've been doing this trick for decades. Anyway, that's beside the point. but it's very simple to do. It's going to give us 2 poles pushing one way, 1 pole pushing another way, which is going to help us immensely with our intonation problems with our string pull. So what I do is I use a small dowel like this and push these pole pieces out of the bobbin, flip them over, put them back in. Like I said, then I'll have to unsolder these leads and flip these. It's going to take a few minutes, but it's going to be well worth the trouble. There we have it. Late 70s Strat, refretted, set up, couple new bolts back here in the bridge, new pickup height screw, reverse polarity middle pickup. I don't know, should I tell him or should I let it be a surprise for him? I don't know. I think I want to surprise him. Anyway, new frets, new hand cut bone nut, all that, all ready to go. Pretty nice for guitar. It was pretty much unplayable when it came in. So there you go, another refret. So until next time, play nice. I'll see you later.